Let me know if this sounds familiar to you. You're harvesting your plants minding your own business, and then on the corner of your screen you see this thing glowing. You try to ignore it, but it won't go away, so you click on it and get rewarded with Beastmoon seeds. You try planting it, but it doesn't work on any of your plots. So why did you give me something that I can't even use? What? You notice that it requires a Beastmoon planter and make your way to the Beastmoon arena. I plant the seed here? Oh bruh, there's literally nothing here. You head over to Mr. Bird Guy, but he's no help either, so you try to sign up for a game by going to the pedestal. Oh, what is all of this? Why do they have so many symbols for? Oh dude, I can't even read any of these cards, no way I'm gonna learn all this. So you trash the seeds and never touch a Beastmoon. My name is Tntosion, and today we're going to discuss if Beastmoon is worth getting into. To give you some context, there are two versions of Beastmoon, a Beastmoon Hunt and a Beastmoon Mayhem. They are two extremely different game modes that only come out once a month and last for 7 days. So if it's so exclusive, what do you get out of it? A very important question that I have to ask though is, why do people get into PvP? The only loot that they get is the metal reagents, which then they use to craft Rochambeau TCs to continue playing PvP. So no, they are not doing it for the loot, they are doing it for the rank because it gives them a sense of accomplishment of being on the leaderboards. Thankfully, Beastmoon doesn't have a ranking system, or else the toxicity would be through the goddamn roof, but the level of accomplishment you feel motivates you to continue playing more Beastmoon. But I'll have to explain why that is later because it won't make any sense if you aren't familiar with what you even get out of Beastmoon. So you get Lunari, Beastmoon reagents, and PvP spellments, in which you cannot farm for them anywhere else in the game. So if you want to tear up your hidden bubbles, golems, storming, monster mash, etc., then you have to play Beastmoon. You get 2 Beastmoon planters when you first play a Beastmoon match, and you get your 3rd planter after 20 or 25 games. I'll correct myself on the screen. You get spellments when you win in Beastmoon and when you harvest the school-specific Beastmoon plants. To get them, go to Acteon the bird dude, and you will notice that it requires Lunari to purchase the seed. You get Lunari from playing Beastmoon, and you get points which will level up your progress bar, in which it rewards you with Lunari, and Lunari is given to you in the Scroll of Fortune, which the points also count towards that. You don't use the Lunari to buy seeds though, you use it to buy the recipe to craft the seed. And you do that at the seed cultivator, which shows all the recipes that you bought. To craft the seed you need moonstones. You get them by planting a normal Beastmoon seed, so if you didn't trash them like I did, I'd advise you to plant them. They drop either elemental or spirit moonstones. Then with those you can craft either elemental or spirit seeds, which will drop school-specific moonstones. Then with those school-specific moonstones, you can craft the school-specific Beastmoon plants, so like a fire Beastmoon plant, a storm Beastmoon plant, a death Beastmoon plant, those specific plants. Those will drop you Beastmoon idols related to the school of that plant, so a storm plant will drop you storm Beastmoon idols, and they will also drop you the spellments. You can see that getting spellments though is a very lengthy process because this is a very inefficient way of getting them. The most efficient way is to craft them with moon gold dust and school-specific school idols, which you get the idols from the school-specific Beastmoon plants, which is why I went through all that process on how to get the plant. But for the moon gold dust, you can only get them during Beastmoon Mayhem, which is once a month, so be sure to play that event if you are after spellments. You get 5 spellments each time you craft one at the basic crafting session, which means you can get to tier 2 very easily. Now, if this video is about answering whether Beastmoon is worth it, why did I go through a guide on how to get those spellments? This is because spellments are usually the main reason people even dip their toes into considering learning Beastmoon. Because at first glance it looks very intimidating, so it scares people away. And there is the reputation that the Beastmoon community is toxic, which again drives people away. But to answer if it's worth playing, we have to ask what is considered worth something to you. Is it the loot? Is it the enjoyment factor? Is it being rewarded with a sense of accomplishment? Is it being able to play with your friends? What is considered worth it to you? Because if you are going for the loot, then sure, Beastmoon can be worth it for the spellments and crafting the Beastmoon robes, but that requires a lot of grinding, and we don't want to grind something if it's not fun. Which leads to the question if Beastmoon is fun. But that is a very subjective question, so we'll have to narrow it down to, are you a competitive player or are you a casual player? Competitive players often want more of a challenge, but casual players complain when things are complicated. This is evident in the final Novus fight, in which the PvE casual players complain that Kingzal is shoving Rochambeau down their throat with having to learn all of these complicated looking spells. Or casual players complain about the learning curve, that things look too intimidating or things are too complex, etc. So So if that is you, then Beastmoon is not worth playing. But if you thrive in competitive environments that require teamwork and a lot of focus, then you'll definitely enjoy Beastmoon, which means you have fun, concluding that Beastmoon is worth playing. You can group up with friends and play with them, which makes Beastmoon even more fun, but again, there are two different game modes that you have to learn. And for me, I absolutely hate Beastmoon Hunt, but I love Beastmoon Mayhem. However, I still put myself through Beastmoon Hunt because I want the Lunari to tier up my forms for Beastmoon Mayhem. When I play Beastmoon Mayhem, I grind the event on multiple characters to get the Moon Gold Dust, and I don't mind grinding it because it's fun. Which means Beastmoon Mayhem is worth playing for me because I'm doing it for fun and I'm playing it for the loot. But for Beastmoon Hunt, I only grind the event on one character on my main because I want the Lunari, and then calling it quits, literally dipping out of the event when I finally get the loot. That means from my personal preference, Beastmoon Hunt is only worth playing on my main character and then not touching that event ever again until the next month rolls around so that I can grind up the Lunari reward again. But for you, you may enjoy Beastmoon Hunt more than Mayhem, or you may just hate both of the event and conclude that Beastmoon is not worth your time. So it's very subjective and you have to play it in order to figure that out yourself. Now that you have an idea of what the progress bar is, that you can get Lunari, that it can tier up your forms, you can now see why it gives people a sense of accomplishment. Personally for me, this progress bar motivates me to continue playing more matches because you may be close to the next reward which convinces you to play another game. Not only that, but the Lunari you get can help tier your forms, which it helps to add an extra card slot to decrease the amount of deck fails you have. For some of the forms, you also get better cards if you tier them up. For example, if you tier up a Mithrat to tier 3, you finally get a good AoE, which will help you win more matches in Beastmoon Mayhem. A tier 3 Storm Elf will give you this stun card, which will help you win more matches in Beastmoon Hunt. So with all the grinding that you did, it eventually pays off and you will notice that you easily got enough resources to craft the Beastmoon robes. Ultimately, I do think that Beastmoon is worth it, but only if you educate yourself beforehand on how to play it. Because imagine you went into a raid without preparing yourself how to play it. You obviously know the result of that, which is you're gonna piss off everyone because you will be the reason they lost the game. This is why people say that Beastmoon is toxic, because a lot of players enter a competitive game mode without preparing themselves first. I'll leave tutorials for you in the description if you're interested in learning how to play. Lastly, is Beastmoon worth it for content creators? No. This is going to be my last video that I'll ever cover about a Beastmoon topic because nobody is interested in this niche. Which is evident when I created this really entertaining and funny Beastmoon movie. I spent a goddamn awful amount of time on it, and it's not really getting the recognition that it deserves. If you'd like to give me some support checking that video out, it's here on the end screen. But before you click on it, I would love to hear your thoughts if you think Beastmoon is worth playing.